Our next speaker serves as the Director of Advocacy for Family Policy Alliance of Idaho. He has established a proven track record of success in family policy movement, and he's proud to represent our shared values at the state capitol in Boise. Before joining the Family Policy Alliance of Idaho, Blaine previously worked for one of our allied state organizations, Family Policy Institute of Washington. Additionally, he spent several years teaching humanities, theology, and apologetics courses at Classical Christian High School in Fairfax, Virginia. Blaine graduated from Liberty University, where he studied government and economics. He and his wife, Anna, enjoy raising their family in beautiful Idaho. Blaine, thank you. Give him a hand.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be with you today. An awful lot has been spoken about rights these days, and it's true. Our rights are given to us by our Creator. A young Alexander Hamilton, while he was still in college, wrote that the sacred rights of mankind are written in the whole volume of human nature, by the hand of divinity itself, and they can never be erased or obscured by immortal power. The idea that our rights are a gift from God was not unique to Hamilton. The belief was shared unanimously by the wise men who founded our beloved nation and our state. This idea finds its apex in the Declaration of Independence, wherein Thomas Jefferson penned those immortal words: "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Yet the circumstances in which we find ourselves today seem so far removed from the paradigm of ordered liberty sought by the founding generation. In many ways, our countrymen have too lightly esteemed their birthright of liberty. The biblical Esau was willing to give up his birthright to his brother, Jacob, in exchange for a bowl of stew, estimating his birthright to be less valuable than mere food provisions. Likewise, Americans have traded liberty for security. We have made the devil's bargain. Long before the Wuhan coronavirus, yes, the Wuhan coronavirus, long before it ever made its way to our shores, we had already begun the process of trading away our birthright of liberty for the proverbial bowl of soup. For decades, Americans have increasingly looked to civil government as their nanny, as their protector, and as their provider. We have been all too willing to view government as our Messiah, who will supposedly keep us safe from every risk and danger we might encounter in this fallen world. In so doing, we have lost sight of the true Messiah, Jesus Christ, from whom our help comes. But in the end, false gods always demand more of us than we are willing to give, leading us to destruction. As government becomes absolute, the power it demands proceeds closer and closer to omnipotence. I have worked in state politics for years, and I can honestly say that most of the local politicians I have worked with are not drunk for power. They simply see every problem as something to be fixed, with government as the only tool to fix it. Just like the good-intentioned handyman who stumbles around the house looking for nails to hammer away at, for the bureaucrat and the politician, every problem presents an opportunity to utilize government power, even if the proposed solution falls outside of the proper role for government, and even if the supposed solution might cause unintended consequences worse than the problem itself. The famed Austrian economist Ludwig von Mises warned that government interventions in the economy and social life will inevitably cause unintended consequences. The cure, as they say, is worse than the disease. So what is the response of government to its failing record in fixing our problems? To back off and recognize that it has overstepped its bounds? Of course not. Government too often doubles down. Predictably, government intervenes again and again and again, trying to solve the problems caused by its last round of its supposed solutions. As President Reagan quipped, the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, "I'm from the government, and I'm here to help." And that leads us to where we find ourselves today. To slow the spread of the Wuhan coronavirus, to flatten the curve, as we are told, civil officials in various levels of government throughout our nation have literally turned off the engine of our economy. Our natural rights to assemble, to engage in economic exchange, to gather for worship, and to use our private property as we see fit have been suspended. And what are the unintended consequences of these stay-at-home orders? Perhaps what might become the worst global depression of the modern era. Trillions and trillions of dollars in new federal stimulus spending, all of it debt that needs to be repaid by us and our children in the form of significantly higher taxes and steep inflation. And what have we gained from these stay-at-home orders? Let's compare Idaho with South Dakota. South Dakota, as you know, did not jump on the bandwagon of issuing burdensome stay-at-home orders. Much credit is owed to South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, who said, and I quote, "I agree with the role of our government as set forth in our state and in our national constitution. I took an oath to uphold these constitutions." She added, "The people themselves are primarily responsible for their safety. They are the ones that are entrusted with expansive freedoms. They are free to exercise their rights to work, worship, and play, or to stay at home, or to conduct social distancing." If we were to listen to the hysterics spewed from the bullhorns of popular opinion, we should expect that South Dakota would be the epicenter of the Wuhan coronavirus outbreak. Yet, South Dakota has significantly fewer deaths than Idaho, even after the numbers are adjusted for population. I'll repeat that. Fewer South Dakotans than Idahoans have died of the Wuhan coronavirus, even accounting for population differences. And that's despite the differences in approaches between the two states. This comparison helps to illustrate the futility of draconian lockdown measures we have experienced. Those stay-at-home orders were implemented after wildly incorrect computer models greatly exaggerated the number of deaths that would take place. Thankfully, as time progressed, the overblown estimates kept being revised downwards. Yet, the damage was already being done. Especially here in Idaho, the havoc wreaked by the coronavirus wasn't the result of community spread or overwhelmed ICU hospital units. As of this morning, only 60 Idahoans have succumbed to the Wuhan coronavirus. Instead, we see the damage most pronounced in the human suffering that has occurred as a direct result of the government response. The loss of livelihood, the loss of education, the loss of family homes and businesses and retirement savings. Families who have saved for years to give their children braces or send their kids to college must now go without. Grandparents who have saved and invested for years and with plans to retire and move closer to their grandkids have lost that opportunity. Laboring mothers give birth in hospitals without visitors, sometimes without their husband by their side. Cancer screenings, dentist appointments, and even some medical surgeries and treatments have also been delayed. One of my colleagues at Family Policy Alliance has contended that this is not a question of lives versus money. Instead, it's a question of lives versus lives. A truly pro-life ethic would never rob families of their livelihoods and liberty, thereby making them wards of the state. In this, we also see the damage that has been done to our society, damage to our very social fabric. State and local governments, even here in Idaho, have encouraged neighbors to report each other to the authorities for not following the government dictates. Government officials have arbitrarily categorized certain businesses and activities as essential or non-essential. Dependency on government financial relief is reaching an all-time high. Children have seen their parents arrested in parks or stopped and questioned by law enforcement officials for traveling to a neighboring county. And too many of our fellow countrymen have gleefully capitulated to this new way of doing things, willingly surrendering their birthright of liberty for perceived yet unrealized security. As free men, we cannot allow this. We have a responsibility to preserve the blessings of liberty for the next generation. During the lowest point of the American War for Independence, when all seemed lost for the patriot cause, John Adams wrote to his wife. Adams said, "Posterity, you will never know how much it costs the present generation to preserve your freedom. I hope you will make good use of it. If you do not, I shall repent in heaven that I ever took half the pains to preserve it." May we not despise the inheritance we have received, for which so many Americans sacrificed their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor. Much has been spoken of our rights. And seeing that our rights are a heritage from God, that focus on our rights is well and good. But if we are to keep our nation and the blessings that we have enjoyed for generations, we must not lose sight of our responsibilities. First, we must take responsibility for ourselves and our families. We must live virtuous lives, worthy of men yearning to be free, which includes rejecting government handouts, providing for ourselves, and exercising charity toward our neighbors, and accepting the consequences of our actions. We must faithfully discharge our duties to ourselves, our families, our neighbors, and our God. Samuel Adams affirmed this truth when he said, "If we would truly enjoy the gift of heaven, let us become a virtuous people. Then we shall both deserve and enjoyment." We must be virtuous if we are to keep our republic. Second, we must walk in humility and repentance. We must recognize that the state of affairs in our society is a result of sin. Not only our harmful actions, but also our equally harmful inaction, both individually and collectively. We must humbly admit our faults and, by God's grace, seek to walk in blessed fellowship with Him and with each other. Third, we must pray for our leaders. Paul tells Timothy to pray, first of all, for our civil leaders, that we may lead a peaceful and quiet life, godly and dignified in every way. Will our leaders receive the wisdom that was given to Solomon if we do not pray for them? Do you not realize that you have not because you ask not? Is not our welfare in so many ways predicated upon the path our public officials choose? Pray for our leaders. Fourth, we must get involved in civil government. That means becoming informed, learning about the system of government, working to preserve it, and advocating for policies that help us flourish. Family Policy Alliance of Idaho will help you. Sign up for our newsletter. Quick plug, Gabe. Sign up for our newsletter, familypolicyalliance.com, familypolicyalliance.com. We'll send you weekly updates and action alerts. It's easy, it's simple. I hear from people all the time that it's so helpful to help them get engaged and stay informed. Sign up, get involved, and get informed. Finally, we must jealously guard our rights, recognizing that they have been given to us by God and cannot be taken away by any inferior power. That great lion of liberty, Patrick Henry, told Virginians to guard with jealous attention the public liberty. Henry's exhortation should ring in our ears and hearts too. If we do these things, we will see a new birth of freedom in our nation and our state, all for the glory of God. Thank you, and may God bless you.